Right, I've just had my ear chewed off by a customer, and I use that term loosely. She has just absolutely screamed at us on the phone. This was 10 minutes ago, so I thought, right, get my phone out, film it while it's fresh, and yeah, you'll get some genuine reaction from us, because yeah, it makes you annoyed. It kind of feel a bit taken aback a little bit. It's the first time a customer or anyone really to do with gardening has had a right go at us down the phone, and I'm going to explain why. Right, okay, so yeah, so 10 minutes ago, just had a customer ring us up, and she said, completely abrupt, completely screaming from the off. It's just ridiculous, really. She said, "You've made me look an absolute fool. I will not be having you back to do the garden." And I was on a job. Don't normally answer when I'm on a job. I'm glad I kind of did. The reception was a little bit crackly and stuff, and she went on for another 10 seconds or so, and it broke up. I said, "Look, I'm sorry you've broke up." She said, I said, "I can't hear you." She said, "You have made me look like an absolute fool." She said, £10, blah, 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 and started to crackle out. "I will not be needing you. Don't come back," and put the phone down. So I was like, whoa. Right. So what it was, it's I've obviously dodged a bullet, a massive bullet. I have been to her garden once last week. This is not a regular customer. I went there for the first time last week, and bit of a shame, because it would have been a canny little cut, grass cut, and I'll explain kind of the garden. And I know I haven't ripped her off. I've charged rock bottom prices because I do a garden a few doors down, and so this customer's garden was just her front garden, no access issues. I could literally park the van right next to the lawn, whip out the gear, get it cut, be gone, kind of thing. I thought, brilliant, this is the kind of, these are the kind of jobs I wanted. It was on the small side, so my minimum grass cut is £20. I've got, I think, 2, that would have been the third, where I personally kind of justify charging 20 quid. Now, I know you've got the costs, it's wear and tear on your body, blah, blah, blah. This took us 10 minutes, so I said, right, I explained it at the time to her. I said, look, like, I charge 20 quid as a minimum for a grass cut, including strimming, I said, I'm happy to do for 15, that's absolutely fine. She said, I've got some weeds down the side of the house, kind of growing slightly up against the wall, maybe 4 or 5 inches in height. Nothing terrible. I just went along with a little the patio tool thing, just by hand. It took us a few minutes. She did have weeds coming up a slate border which ran from one end of the house to the door, so not huge, but it was quite packed with weeds. And I said, look, first visit, I'll come and do that little border for you as well, but I'll have to charge an additional £10. We're talking 25 quid for the visit. So I know fine well that I haven't ripped her off. Obviously, I'm sure the majority of you will agree with us. 15 quid for the lawn, and it wasn't a postage stamp lawn, but it wasn't huge. As I say, it took us, I think, probably 10 minutes. Yeah, 15 quid, that's like, it's below my minimum. A couple of lawns I've been to and seen have been postage stamps, and I do explain. I said, look, like, I've given the scenario of the whole 20 quid's my minimum. I will do for 15. That's as low as I can go. I don't see the point. I didn't say this to other customers, but I don't see the point cutting a lawn for a tenner. I'd just rather not bother, to be honest, and wait for a better lawn. So 15 is my rock bottom. And as I say, I only do 2 now. That would have been the third. And £10 for the weeds and the gravel. And so please let us know. Is there anyone here watching who think that she has been ripped off? She agreed the price, by the way, as well, and after the visit I showed her, and she was very happy with my job. She said on the phone call she's got someone to do it cheaper. There we are. She obviously thinks the gardener's probably, she's probably said, well, my gardener, I'm not really a gardener, her gardener, because I've only done it once. She probably said there's a lad come and cuts the lawn for 15 quid, and he charges £10 to get weeds out of the slate bed, which wouldn't have been there. So I would have liked to have known the reaction of the gardener who has supposedly probably said, oh, he's ripped you off. Obviously haven't. So yeah, the whole scenario, I'm glad kind of it's come about now. And the one where he is, you know, she's obviously, you know, I barely know the woman. I had one meeting with her when I quoted the garden, and another one just to knock on the door and say, look, I've finished, kind of thing. And she paid us same day, so no issues there. She said, oh, like, thank you, you've done a good job. She was pleasant. You know, you're just kind of worried, are these people just a little bit mad, and are they going to try and like tie your name on social media or whatever? Has anyone had experiences of that? Obviously, if she does, I'm sure I'll be aware of it, and I can come back with a proper response. Give the prices, you know, quoted in 25 quid to most people for doing a little bit of work in someone's garden isn't going to be considered high, is it? Let's face it. So I think I'll be all right there. But has it happened to anyone? That would be interesting to know. Has anyone kind of had a big battle on with a customer where you've fallen out with them, or they don't happen to like you or the job or whatever, and has it had a detrimental effect? I don't think this will. I think this will probably be the end of it, hopefully. Yeah, it's just, it's been, yeah, it was a bit crazy. That's the first time I've had that, to be fair. And it does kind of shock you a little bit, when, like, sort of makes, because I wouldn't dream of doing that to anyone, you know. And it just kind of, yeah, it annoys you though as well, because you know you haven't ripped someone off. You might price high on certain jobs for whatever reason, and sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. I hope people watching this who regularly watches know I would never rip anyone off. And I've done plenty of jobs where I've massively underpriced, and half an hour into the job you think, oh bugger, I've got this one wrong. And it's up to you whether you want to say anything. I generally don't, unless I come across something that couldn't be kind of foreseen at the start. And sometimes, you know, I was planting a cherry tree the other day in an old fish pond, and the couple had just moved in. The fish pond was kind of had gravel on top, so I stripped all the gravel off. There was like old bin liners kind of underneath to keep the weeds at bay, and what looked like compost, and I did suspect it might have kind of brick and rubble and things at the bottom. It was probably about 3 foot high. There was probably 1.5 feet roughly of rubble, and I planted this tree anyway, and I dug right down and I got the bricks out and stuff, so where the tree was actually planted, it was all right. I explained, look, like, it should be okay. I've got a lot of this stuff out. You know, just look after it, water and stuff, it should be fine. But I explained, and I said, look, I'll have to charge an extra tenner, because you can see here I've got all this brick and rubble out, and it was a hard job. And they were like, yeah, no problem whatsoever. So that's the only situation where I might kind of go back and say, look, I've charged this, I've quoted this, sorry, but I'll have to add a little bit on. Very rarely happens. Normally I just take it on the chin and see it as my own fault. But yeah, I'm going to leave that one there. Right, say hello in the comments if you're new as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.